Booked the wrong cruise cabin? You might end up under the buffet, next to the nightclub, or staring at a lifeboat instead of the ocean. Let's make sure you never regret your cabin again, because the right pick can mean better sleep, better views, and even big savings.
Hey, I'm Mark.
And I'm Monica.
We've been traveling the world full time and been on over 50 cruises, so we know a thing or two about picking the right and the wrong cabin. It's one of the most common questions that we get every day when booking clients on cruises. All right, so let's pick the perfect cruise cabin for you. First thing is, want to give you tools that will help you pick the perfect cruise cabin. If you go to our website and you go right here to find a cruise, you can pick your cruise line, any ship. I'll pick Celebrity and the Celebrity Beyond. And what I like to do is I like to pick a date range or dates that you may be willing to sail, because it's important to do a cross section of how much the cabins would cost as well. It's not just about picking the perfect cabin location. You also want to know the difference between inside, ocean view, balcony, etc. I can find sailings here, and you can see on the Celebrity Beyond where cabins start per person for inside, ocean view, balcony, and even a suite. Go over here to view cruise and then view ship. Couple things I really like. One, it's going to tell you exactly where the ship is sailing all the rest of this year and into next year, so the next 12 months. Gives you some nice information about the ship, but the real key is what you're looking for right here. These are the deck plans. Let's say you ended up on deck 6. Deck 6 looks pretty good overall. You can click in here, you can find your specific cabin. All well and good, but you'll notice what's below you. This is really important to know, because look what's in the front on deck 5. It's the theater. There will be shows maybe up to 10, 11 o'clock at night. If you're somebody who goes to bed early, are you going to want to be in the front of the ship right here on one of these cabins? Probably not. What's in the back here? We can see there's a bar, a restaurant. You got to be a little careful if you end up on deck 6, because you may have some noise coming up from deck 5. Deck 3, same thing, right? You've got cabins on deck 3, but above you, you've got the theater, you've got all kinds of different things that may be open late or even start early. Probably deck 2 is going to be pretty quiet, but if people are leaving for excursions, they may be going out at 7 in the morning. You may hear this if you're on one of those decks. That's why these deck plans are so important. If you end up on deck 12, a high deck, and I'm not saying this is not a place to be, but you at least want to be aware of what is above you on deck 14. Now, deck 14 on this ship is a spa up here. It's going to be typically very quiet, but look what's in the middle here. This looks like pool, tons of deck chairs, right? And then back here, you've got the buffet. So would you think on deck 12, if you ended up with a cabin back here, is it possible you would hear a lot of tables above you pretty early in the morning? Now up here, you're probably fine because it's the spa. But what about in the middle here? Again, if you've got the pool above you and they're moving deck chairs, you may very well hear that. So that's why these deck plans are so essential. All right, now another thing you can do is use ChatGPT, use AI. Let's say that you're looking at a cabin, and I'm going to look at the Celebrity Apex and look at 10220. To go right in here, and it will pull reviews of this specific cabin, if there are any out there. It's going to give you a lot of pros and cons. Many times it will find you a video that sometimes even covers your specific cabin, and it'll tell you a lot of information to know if that's a good pick. I highly recommend going to our website, looking at the deck plans, and considering going into AI. Now, let's talk really quickly about cabin types. As you know, when you book a cruise, your big decision is going to be, do you take the inside cabin, the ocean view, the balcony, or jump all the way up and get a suite? Inside cabin, what does it mean? No windows, right? So it's going to be dark. We normally say, don't pick an inside cabin if it's your first cruise. You need to make sure that natural light is not going to be a problem for you. Now, inside is going to be your best value, but if you want to get some natural light, still have really good value on a cruise, an ocean view will give you some of that. Now, we typically say, if you can, go for a balcony cabin. Of course, it may not make sense if it's a short cruise, if you don't plan on spending very much time in your cabin. If you want the greatest deal overall, you get it. Inside an ocean view might be something to consider, but a lot of people, the majority who book cruises with us, typically will do a balcony cabin, right? You're going to get natural light, and it's really nice to have that private outdoor space, especially if there's any kind of views on your cruise.
Modern cruise ships have stabilizers, which mitigate the motion in most cases. If you're in the open ocean doing a crossing, or if there's adverse weather, you may have some motion. If you're prone to seasickness or motion problems, you may want to choose a stateroom based on the best location for you, which is generally lower and mid. The middle doesn't move so much. Midship is the best location.
Costs are usually going to be higher if you're midship. There tends to be a bit of a discount if you go for the forward or aft in the ship. It certainly does not mean if you're forward or in the aft of the ship, you're going to have problems. Most of the time, seas are well handled by most ships. Larger ships will do better, but it is something to be aware of. Now, you also want to decide, do you want to be lower down in the middle, or do you want to be in the upper decks? Now, lower decks, yeah, they're going to be the most stable, but you may want to look at the deck plans because it might take you 5, 8, 10 floors to get to the pool deck, the buffet, and what's on the top floors. Many times the restaurants, theaters, they're going to be on more like deck 4, deck 5. So your mid decks or even your lower decks are going to be very well positioned. Typically, we like to be somewhere in the middle of the ship. So we may have a few decks above us, a few decks below us. That tends to be perfect overall. But again, it's going to come down to availability and cost. Of course, we will provide advice and assistance for you and help you pick the best cabins based upon ultimately what's available.
Let's talk about port versus starboard. Which side of the ship should you be on, the left or the right? In most cases, it really doesn't matter. For Alaska cruises, if you're going one way, choose the inland-facing side for your best views. In reality, you'll have scenery on both sides. A lot of Alaska cruises do a loop, so it really doesn't matter which side you're on. Mediterranean, also consider sunrises and sunsets.
It's not a huge part of the decision. If you find like the perfect cabin, it's the deck that you want, and it happens to be port or starboard, and you think the other side might be better, I don't think it's going to make a big impact on your trip overall. Let's talk about avoiding noise. I think we talked a lot about deciding upon which deck. If you have the pool deck right above you, or theaters right above you, or below you, it is quite possible you're going to have some noise. Another offender is connecting cabins. A lot of people don't look at the deck plans close enough. We always do. Connecting cabin means you're sharing a door, right? A lot of times it's designed for people traveling in families or groups. It's never going to muffle that sound as much as a wall. In newer ships, they sometimes do a better job with this, but I've definitely had in hotels and cruise ships that connector door, you can literally hear the conversations happening in the cabin or the room next door. The best strategy I can give you, if you were worried about location, noise, we call it the cabin sandwich. You want a cabin above you, you want a cabin below you, you want a cabin to the right, one to the left, and no connector. That is the perfect combination. Look, cruising is super popular. You may have to concede on one of those to get the best deal overall. And sometimes, you know what, it's worth spending a lot less and not having the perfect location. But if you can get a cabin that satisfies all that, more than likely you're going to have an ideal location for your trip.
So elevator versus stairwell location, it really just depends. I mean, some may say that the elevators areas can get very noisy with people standing out there and waiting. You don't need to be right at the elevator, but a few steps down the hall is not really going to be a problem. And stairwells will be even quieter. If you're closer to a stairwell, that may be best.
This is something that sometimes we've had clients be concerned about, and we were on Ovation of the Seas. I think we did 17 nights. Our room was literally right off the elevator lobby. Never noticed it being a problem. Let's talk a little bit about budget and how to get the best deals. We typically say, look, if the jump to a balcony cabin is not that much, and if it can fit your budget, I think you're going to be happy that you did it. But there's no denying the fact that an inside cabin could literally cost half as much as a balcony. Many times you might be surprised going from inside to ocean view is not that much more, especially if we can get some discounts, some special cabins, some sales. Sometimes it's only like 10% higher. So just that little extra to get the natural light might be worth it. And many times I've seen jumping up to a balcony is not considerably more. One strategy could be to consider looking into an obstructed view. Now, I know at first when you hear obstructed view, it's like, why would I get a balcony with an obstructed view? But you might be like, you know what? I just want the natural light. I want the ability to step out of my room onto a balcony. And yeah, I know the life might be in the way, or there might be part of the deck guardrails there, but you may save a lot, maybe 20, 30%. So it might be the value play on that ship. If you're willing to make a few concessions, you can jump up to a better cabin. One thing you definitely need to be aware of is guaranteed cabins.
A guaranteed cabin is the lowest price for a category, but you do not get to choose your stateroom. The cruise line will select a stateroom for you, and sometimes not until right before the sailing. It's the lowest price, but you run the risk of getting a stateroom that maybe is not in the best location, or it could be obstructed.
The savings sometimes is phenomenal. And if you're in a certain class, they're going to give you at least the category that you booked into.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at the category and you look at those deck plans and you realize where all those cabins are, and you're like, you know what, most of them are in a good location, it doesn't matter to me that much, then it may be another really nice hack to save a lot of money. However, if it turns out there's a lot of cabins on a lot of decks and a lot of locations, you may end up at a place where you are right below the theater, right below the pool deck, etc. So again, these are things that you want to pay attention to before you go ahead and book. Most time when we book, we almost always like to pick our cabin, but we have a cruise or two coming up where we're pretty satisfied with where the cabin choices could be. And we actually booked the guarantee because the savings were just kind of worth a little bit of that variability. So a good checklist to really go through before. Determine if you've got seasick concerns. If you do, I think you really want to be midship, lower down. Don't risk it. If you're noise sensitive, do the sandwich strategy. Have cabins all around you, above, below, left, and right, and try if you can to avoid a connecting door.
What about view quality? So you'll need to decide if that matters to you.
Then convenience. What do you want to be close to? Is it more important to be close to the buffet, which is typically higher up, the pools, those sort of venues, the rides, the spa, yeah, any of that? Or do you like to be further down? You want to be closer to usually the specialty restaurants, the theater, the bars. So that's something that you want to decide as well. Hopefully you'll have some good choices and work with your travel advisor to help you have the best balance.
Obviously, if you're selling with friends and family, you have multiple cabins, you probably don't want to do a guarantee cabin because you don't know where you're going to end up.
Go to digitalromancetravel.com. We showed you exactly how to find your sailings, quick reference to see about what it's going to cost. Can I jump up to an ocean view or a balcony? How much is the difference? And then look at that deck plan to see what it would look like. Now, again, you're not going to be able to choose from every cabin. Almost every cruise that we look into these days is 80%, 90% full, but there's always, hopefully, some choice of cabins. And as soon as we can tell you which cabins are available, we can work with you and try to figure out which one might be best overall for you. By the way, we can help you pick the perfect cabin, perfect category on any cruise, ocean or river. Plus, we can many times provide you with special discounts, perks, onboard credits, and amenities. All you need to do is go to the link there you see on the screen, digitalromance.com/cruising. No charge, it's free. We're happy to help guide you through this process, as well as give you a specific quote on any cruise that you may be considering. Let's give you a couple more hidden gems. On some ships are these aft-facing cabins that sometimes can have really large balconies. It's beautiful, spectacular wake views. They're in the back of the ship. It's not something that a lot of people realize could be available on the ship you're booking. Partially obstructed views. Sometimes the obstruction's minimal. Some cruise lines will actually give us a percentage. They'll sort of say it's 20% obstructed, 30% obstructed, but a significant discount.
Avoid booking blind. Always check the deck plan first, or at least know where your stateroom is located. Prioritizing only price, it's only part of the picture. You need to know what's above you, what's below, and what's on either side.
If it's super port intensive, how much of a difference does the cabin make? It's probably not dramatic, but again, I think location will matter and noise will matter. So no matter which category you choose, still go through this exercise each and every time. Choosing the perfect cabin, if you know what you're looking for, only takes a few minutes. Go ahead and leave us a comment down below. Let us know some of your strategies for choosing your perfect cabin. If you ever picked one that was terrible, share that as well. We've also had some cabins that haven't been perfect. Love to hear your advice as well as some of your experiences, good or bad, when it comes to choosing your cabin. Subscribe to the channel. We love to keep coming out with great deals, great cruise tips, hacks, strategies. By you subscribing to the channel, we can keep providing you with great inside information. Go ahead and check out the video you see on the screen, which is some amazing deals on the newest ships that are out there with some really fantastic cabins. So with that,
We'll see you out there.
we'll see you out there.